Good morning, folks. Today there's still a little bit of activity when it comes to solar flaring. Let me just give a small recap. So yesterday I made a video about an M3 flare, as you can see over here, and then moments later there was an X flare. And this is the first in, I believe, more than 4 years. The last one was in 2017. So you see, it has been a long time since we actually saw one. Then this sunspot, which left, let me just show you. So this sunspot 2838 is now out of reach as it's crossed the solar disk to the far side of the sun. But I noticed something, and there's still a little bit of activity. So I said to myself, it's probably one of these sunspots, especially sunspot 2835, which is a rather big one if you ask me. But to my surprise, it didn't come from this region. So I thought maybe this one, because we see when I zoom this in, several spots. Actually, this is not one sunspot but many dark cores, sunspot group. So I thought maybe this one. And no, it doesn't come from this sunspot. It comes from an active region over here. And you might say, how is that possible? It doesn't even have a sunspot denomination yet. There is a reason for that. Let me just show you. But before I do that, let me just give a recap. So yesterday we had xflare, because this is actually the main event, or was the main event yesterday. So this xflare caused a radio blackout level 3. And let me just read it. New region 2838 produced an impulsive X1 flare, and saw an R3 radio blackout, strong radio blackout at 14.29 UTC on the 3rd of July, so this was yesterday. This sunspot region developed overnight and was also responsible for an M2 flare, which caused an R1 radio blackout, while it was almost an M3 flare, but apparently they call it M2. So anyway, this is the one that I covered, that radio 1 level blackout. And this is the one that I missed, that X1 flare. So I'm just giving a recap. This happened yesterday, and this is over by now. As you can see on 40.29 UTC on the 3rd of July. To come back to the main subject, so now I'm going to cover this over here. Now this in itself is not really a big event, it's an M1 flare. But what strikes me when I looked at the movie, wait, let me just do that again because it does that a lot. Let's go, yeah, the 4, submit. There it is. It came from that tiny little sunspot group. And let me just go straight to that M1 flare, because it's actually quite visible. Yes, there it is. Let me just play the movie now. You will see that this is a very active region. It's this small, but just like its brother or sister, it's a very active region. It has the same type of activity, and so I went to check its magnetic complexity. And not surprisingly, it is actually a complex area. I'm not calling this yet a sunspot because it has yet to be named that way. It's too small right now, I think. It's barely visible, but if this one, for example, develops to this particular size, then we will have some fireworks, especially when it does that over here, when it is Earth facing. But right now, this is a developing region with several dark cores in it, and it does have complexity in its magnetic setup. So positive and negative are intertwined with each other, and these are the ingredients to have strong solar flares. As you can see, it has already produced an M1 flare, so we'll have to see if this actually develops further as it moves towards the Earth-facing side of the sun. And you will know in the following days, because if it turns out to be a sunspot. If it develops into a sunspot, it will probably flare even further, and I will definitely cover this topic. Now, to move on. Oh yes, before I do so, this actually is the M1 flare in question, and as you can see, those C flares are all also visible. As you can see, this is probably the second C flare. Let me just do that a little bit faster. No, there is the second one. So here is the first one. Could you stop over here? Yes. This is the first one. This is the second one. And this is the M1 flare in question. All produced by that tiny little region, which is still in development, as you can see. So, one more thing I want to show. There has been discussion about the CME, whether or not it will miss Earth, and so let me just show you. This is stereo ahead, because actually the one that I usually use doesn't have any data, and I will show you this quickly. There is 1, 2, 3, 4 days since the beginning of July. All the data is missing, so I'm going to use from now on stereo A, which is the only one available, as you can see. Stereo behind has long been gone. Unfortunately, it was one of the most useful tools because it was showing behind the sun, the backside of the sun. Fortunately, we don't have this one since a long time. I think it went offline in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So, this CME will definitely miss Earth completely. As you can see over here, it's not even a glancing blow, nothing. We are, however, entering in a dense region, and let me just, before I end the video, actually go to the Enlil spiral and show you this, because here I think it is visible, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, this one has a tendency to show it better. So basically, the 4th of July, today, we will already enter this part over here. You can see we are brushing a denser part of the solar wind, and as we go in tomorrow, we will still be in these different layers of density. The speed, however, will drop to almost 300 kilometers a second, and it will stay that way for a day or two until the 7th of July. And then as we move forward, we come into the green zone, which is a little bit denser. As you can see, we will have a bump in density. And then again, but the simulation stops the 9th of July, we will again hit this part over here. Then basically we will enter a couple of days, almost an entire week in this region, which is almost a complete void, but with accelerated particles as we will move to this yellow and red zone over here. But this is for in a week or so that we actually will enter this. In fact, more than a week, because I see the 9th, it stops over here. So yes, this is probably for the 10th or the 11th that we will actually enter this faster zone of solar wind. So yes, if you haven't subscribed already, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you actually enjoyed this video, you can hit the like button. What you can also do is turn on the notifications. This way you will actually know when I post the video in question. And I'm making actually videos on a regular basis. So I believe we arrived at 59. I will cite the philosophical quote as usual. The man who listens not to the words of affectionate friends will give joy in time of distress to his enemies. So, if you don't listen to wise word of friends that love you, you will definitely make your enemies happy. That's what this quote is saying. So, thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you again the next time. Bye bye, everyone.